In a world where trust in CPS, the police, and our judicial system is hard to come by, I went more than knee-deep into one of the most devastating cases I have ever encountered. Welcome to part 2 of our series, CPS is Trash. Part 1 will be in the description. Please join me as we continue to uncover the shocking truth behind the tragic murder of Tommy Valva. This story goes far beyond the boundaries of comprehension. It reveals layer after layer after layer of unimaginable failures within our government. My goal is to bring light to the profound flaws in the systems that were meant to protect Tommy, but instead turned a blind eye to his suffering. This is a long and brutal one, but stick with me. Together we can give a voice to the voiceless and seek justice for Tommy. I also tend to rabble-rouse at the end of my videos, which is just one way I cope with the sadness and the horror of it all. Bitch, you are a judge. So let's shine a light on the deep-rooted issues that plague our systems in the hopes that we can prevent such unspeakable tragedies from ever happening again. There is no one else to do it but us. Elected officials won't do it, CPS won't do it, cops won't do it, and judges won't do it. I will be picking up on September 6, 2017, and the aftermath of the disastrous hearing when Justina Valva's children were illegally removed from her custody. So again, welcome to part 2 of CPS's Trash, where we uncover the harrowing truth behind the more than simply systemic failures that failed Tommy Valva. Now we're going to dig deep on the CPS side of this. How cops in both Nassau and Suffolk County just let a kid die. We're also going to talk about a couple other judges, Judge Joseph Lawrence and Judge Bernard Chang. Joseph Lawrence is awful. I mean, he may think he's hot shit in his courtroom, but the rest of us just think he's an asshole. Senior CPS caseworker Michelle Clark is married to a cop in Nassau County. It explains why Clark is so bound and determined to get Valva, also a cop, custody of those kids. People want to believe that cops are the good guys. They're always honest, they'd never break a law, they'd certainly never be violent or abusive. Yeah, that was Rodney King. That video and the trial after it, that whole thing just changed my little Gen X life forever and how I saw the world. So Michelle, being married to a cop, obviously believed all those nice things about the police too. Fine, live your life, Michelle. But I think Michelle is more than just your average badge bunny. She is a whole badge jackalope. So on that same day, September 6, 2017, Nassau County Police from the 5th Precinct, who are apparently close friends with Valva, came to Justina's house to remove those children. Now, this was based on that fictitious, fake, never-existed, temporary, full stay-away order of protection. So, if the order wasn't documented that day, how and why did the cops come to get the kids? I don't know. All the questions. Did Valva call his buddies at the cop shop and tell them what happened and they just thin blue line their way over to Justina's house and snatch those kids? Justina didn't even have a chance to say goodbye to Tommy because his goon of a father picked him up directly from the bus stop. Now it gets really hazy here about when Justina was allowed unsupervised visits with her children. It was just a temporary order, but honestly, I couldn't tell you when it expired, and believe me, I looked. And it's not that I'm a certified Googleologist, but I tried. And Nassau County and Suffolk County's websites are not the easiest to navigate. Sloppy. But I do know on September 20th, 2017, An attorney named Jason Barba had briefly represented Justina, and during this hearing, he questioned whether Zimmerman had the authority to switch custody like that. And he also said, quote, "So my concerns are certainly the consequences of this order without having a hearing. On what basis? I don't know," end quote. So Judge Zimmerman doubled down and said, quote, "Mr. Barbara pointed out that he believes I overstepped my role. I don't believe I did. I don't believe I did," end quote. Now, I think we've all learned from Jim Can't Swim, when you repeat something twice, you're trying to convince others and yourself that it's true. I don't have the transcripts from this hearing, but I'm assuming it did happen at one point, that Justina got visitation back at this hearing. It does mention in Justina's lawsuit against Suffolk County and everyone else involved in this tragedy that Justina got visitation back on September 20th, 2017. So we're just going to go with that. So on October 31st, 2017, Valva, with the full knowledge, consent, guidance, and encouragement of Dirty and McCabe, filed formal child abuse charges against Justina. And just as you would suspect, those allegations were completely false. Valva had alleged that Justina suffered from the mental illness and that her condition was deteriorating, and she was clearly incapable of caring for her children. It's almost as if a cop and two attorneys would know exactly what to say in a situation like this. CPS has entered the chat. So here comes Michelle Clark, the slam pig, the senior CPS caseworker that Donna McCabe had allegedly contacted about the Valva case. On November 1st, 2017, Clark visited Tommy and Anthony at school. Both children denied Valva's allegations. They said they weren't afraid to visit their mom. They said their mom doesn't hit them. Tommy even said he gets hugs and kisses when he visits mom. So simply put, Clark never observed or heard anything that could verify or corroborate Valva's claim that the children were being abused by Justina. This should have been clear to a senior CPS caseworker that had at least one working brain cell that Valva was in the middle of this bitter divorce and was lying about the abuse and Justina having any mental illness, so he would get close to 100% custody of his three children, as Dirty had written in her July 7th, 2017 letter to United Mortgage, and to justify ex post facto the unlawful removal by Zimmerman of the children from Justina, who had cared for these boys since the day they were born. Senior CPS caseworker. This wasn't a mistake. And the tragic irony is that the kids were actually being abused at this time, but it was being done by Valva and Polina. I mean, geez, projection much? Justina had repeatedly tried to report Valva and Polina's abuse to CPS, but no one would listen. She filed 3 separate CPS reports, the first one on November 7th, 2017, the second on January 2nd, 2018, and the third one on January 14th, 2018. And she had clear evidence of abuse, starvations, that the children were suffering at the hands of Valva and Polina since they were granted custody on September 6th. Justina had reported to CPS about the children's severe weight loss while living with their father. 1 month alone, Anthony, who was 8 years old at the time, lost 13 pounds. And in that same time, Tommy, who was 6, lost 4 pounds. And Andrew, who was 4, lost 3 pounds. Lost in a month. That's crazy. That's crazy for kids that age. She also had evidence that Valva and Polina were beating the children on their heads, hands, their backs, and putting these children in these long timeouts without food or water, and making the children serve those timeouts in the backyard when it was cold with no shoes. Now, when Justina followed up, she found out that Clark and her supervisor, Edward Heapy, had literally not done any investigating. In fact, her first CPS report filed November 7th was marked closed, just 2 days later on November 9th. So I think it would be a good idea now to see some of this evidence, some of the things that Justina had put on Twitter.
Hi, Anthony! Hi, Anthony! Go Cookie Cups! Go, 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 baby. Hi, buddy. Hi, Andrew. Let him go. Hi, Andrew. Let them go. They can come to me. Let him go. Let him go. He wants to come here, Andrew. Let him go. What are you doing to them? Every single come here, baby. I got you. I got you. I got you.
I'll be back.
No, he's not crying that he's gonna be back. He's crying that you're shitting them. Okay, I got
I was at Daddy's house.
you. Weren't. You just had a pee-pee accident. That's not a being bad boy.
But Mommy,
What, baby?
when we put us at me,
What happened?
and then he didn't want me to have breakfast and anything.
Didn't want you to have breakfast? Andrew, were you hungry?
Okay, Andrew. He said I can't go to sleep, and I can't eat breakfast, and I even can't go to you.
You can't, he's saying you can't come to me?
Yes.
Why?
I don't know.
When Mommy came, did you see Mommy waiting for you?
Yes.
So what happened?
Run away from the car.
Why? What's gonna happen if you come to Mommy?
Then I'm gonna get in trouble.
What trouble?
Finished.
Punished? How?
Dad,
How you gonna get punished? What she's gonna do?
let's go from upstairs.
Put you upstairs? What's gonna happen upstairs? I can't hear you.
Nothing.
We'll do nothing. And then what's gonna happen?
And then what's the whole day? Anything to eat and drink.
Nothing to eat and drink. She can do that, baby. That's why you were afraid to come to Mommy? Yeah?
Are you going?
It's okay, baby.
Yes. Donna still wants me to push you down. I did push you down still.
Who's saying that?
Donna.
Dolana wants you to push me down?
Yeah, and I did it. Again.
Yeah.
Again.
What?
Mommy, stop. And I did it, Mommy.
Why she wants you to push me down?
Because
Take a parking
because
spot.
she wants you to be dead.
She wants me to be dead?
Yeah.
She said that to you?
Yes.
What did she say?
She said, let Mommy be dead.
She told you that she wants me to be dead?
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
no, Mommy!
And I don't want you to do. And I don't want you to be like that.
Oh, no,
my
Mommy!
God.
Mommy!
And I did push you down, really.
Excuse me, Mom.
I really did push you down, Mommy.
That is not nice what
Mommy,
she's
I did
telling
push
you.
you down.
Mommy,
I
Mommy,
know.
I did push you down.
Mommy.
Mommy, I did push you down.
I know.
Daddy said to me that I can't listen to you and can't hug you. And I'm saying, I love you, Mommy, and miss you, Mommy.
Why?
I don't know why.
Why would he say that? What's gonna happen if you tell me that you love me and miss me and you give me kiss and a hug? What's gonna happen?
I don't know what's gonna happen.
And then Daddy's gonna put me outside.
Outside?
Yes,
Where?
in the backyard.
Where in the backyard?
Mommy. Over there.
Mommy, home, Mommy. What did you say? Mommy. Mommy, what? Mommy's coming home. Where is Mommy? Where is she? Where is Mommy? In the house. In what house? What do you want? Mommy, I'm about to outside.
What do you want?
No, nothing. What did you say to me? What did you say?
Guys, could you stop while I'm talking? Girls! Mommy, who do you love?
No, I can't.
Tommy, what do you love?
No, my friend. Mommy home. I don't love mommy. 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 I don't love mommy. 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 I love daddy. No, I want mommy. I love daddy. Mommy. Mommy is mean. Mommy is mean. Mommy is mean. Mommy is mean. Mommy, shut up. Yeah. Who do you love? Mommy, you're not nice. Mommy, you're not nice. Mommy, you're not nice. You're not nice. Proud of you, Mama. Proud of you, Mommy. Mommy is mean. Mommy hits me. Mommy hits me. Mommy, don't touch me. Mommy, don't touch me.
The next clip isn't from Twitter, it's from Justina's YouTube channel. Justina is talking to Andrew about what went on in the Valva and Polina household. It is kind of a tough watch, but I included this because I thought it was important to keep in mind what was going on with Anthony, Tommy, and Andrew while Michelle Clark, Melissa Estrada, Jessica Lance, Robert Lito, Ed Heapy, Donna McCabe, Judge Zimmerman, Ethan Halpern, Judge Lawrence, Randall Reggie, and the cops in Nassau and Suffolk counties weren't just making mistakes, but doing everything they could, actively going out of their way to make sure Anthony, Tommy, and Andrew were left with Valva and Polina, and actively keeping their loving and devoted mother away from them.
I miss you so much. So, Andrew.
Yeah.
Just a question because I'm trying to figure this out and really it's hard for me.
What?
You remember when in old house, right?
Yeah.
You had 2 floors, right? Downstairs and upstairs.
No, free. Basement.
Oh, the basement was there. And the one part of the house, there was also garage, right?
Yeah, there was a garage.
Did you ever see any heater in the garage?
And they what?
Like a heat. Was the garage heated or unheated?
Nope. Just plain old cold.
It was cold.
Yeah, like, so let's say, like, it was like snow in there, but instead there was no snow, it's just really cold. It's like you're putting your whole body in snow.
Really?
Yeah.
And was anybody sleeping in the garage?
Thomas and Anthony were.
Thomas and Anthony?
I think.
Was the garage door, you were able to go inside the garage and out, or was the door locked?
Well, sometimes the door was locked.
Sometimes it was locked?
Yeah, when Mom and Dad left, Anthony and Thomas alone in the garage.
Oh, so when Anthony and Tommy were left in the garage, the door was locked? And was there anything else to sleep on in the garage?
Nope, just the floor.
Just the floor?
And no pillow.
And no pillow?
And no blanket either.
Was Anthony and Tommy try to go inside the house?
Yeah, but the door was locked.
The door was locked?
They couldn't.
Oh my God. What about you? Did you ever sleep in that garage?
No.
No?
Well, once they threw me in there.
For what?
For the same thing I told you a couple of days ago.
Can you remind me? I forgot.
So let's say someone, like, one of us went downstairs when Mom and Dad left, and they
Mom
said...
and Dad, Mom is...
Angela and Dad.
Okay, Angela and Dad.
They said, there's a set for you on the table. When it's 1 o'clock, go downstairs and eat it. So, like, at 1 o'clock, we got downstairs, they ate it, and we went back upstairs. And then Mom said, you were not supposed to eat that without permission. And then they got in trouble.
Oh my God.
And I got thrown in the garage.
For how long?
For 1 hour.
1 hour? What about Anthony and Tommy? How long did they stay in the garage?
For like 2 hours.
2 hours? Was it also... Did you know the time of the day that they stay in the garage? Like
Every day.
Every day?
All day and every day.
Oh my God. And when did they were taken out of the garage?
Never.
So was there any bathroom in the garage?
No.
So where did they go pee-pee and poopies?
I don't know.
Was there anything else was there any other reason why Dada and Angela put Anthony and Tommy in the garage?
Well, because they kept on peeing themselves.
Kept on peeing themselves?
Yeah, because in the middle of the night they had to go pee.
Okay.
And Mom and Dad wasn't allow them.
Oh my God. Okay.
And then they kept on peeing in their pants because they weren't allowed to go in the middle of the night to the bathroom. And once I had to stay up all night just in the bathroom just to brush my teeth.
Why?
I had to brush my teeth. I didn't brush my teeth, and I had to. And I almost stayed in the bathroom for like 3 hours when everyone was sleeping.
But who you had to stay in the bathroom?
Until I was finished brushing my teeth.
Who said that?
Angela and Dad.
Angela and Dad? Oh my God. And was Anthony and Tommy try to ask for help, call, or when they were inside the garage, did you hear them?
Yeah.
Did you hear the noise?
Mom,
Yeah.
sometimes they were crying and they said that they really had to go pee.
Okay. And what happened that they couldn't go inside the house?
They had to hold their pee in.
They had to hold it?
Sometimes Angela and Dad stayed out all day, and Auntie Thomas stayed home with the door locked.
With the door locked? So they weren't able to get out from the garage?
No, but they had to hold their pee in all day until they came back home.
Did Anthony and Tommy said about this to anybody in school?
No, because then they would be punished for like 3 days.
And what would be the punishment? What will happen to them?
Staying in the room for 3 days, not going to be nodding and not doing anything.
Mm-hmm.
Getting slapped in the butt.
Slap in the butt? Would it hurt? Did you see anything on Anthony and Thomas's body that show bruises, boo-boos?
Almost everywhere.
Almost everywhere.
Like when Dad beat them up, they had like this little thing on their head right here.
Yeah.
It was bleeding, and they had put a Band-Aid on it. And
Wait,
and
show me
Thomas,
where.
like around right here, was like this big.
Okay.
And Thomas said something.
Whose head was that?
That was Auntie's. And Thomas said like something right, Mom. And Thomas said something like right here. I was playing also too.
And who what happened to him when he had a bruise here?
Well, I'm not quite sure. I didn't see what happened next after that.
Was he crying?
Yeah.
Did it hurt him? Did he go to the doctor?
No.
No doctor?
No.
When Tommy and Anthony were in the garage, did they get any food from Dada and Angela?
Only once a day.
Only once a day? And what was the food? What did they get to eat?
Just a sandwich, that's it.
Just a sandwich?
That's
Were they
it.
saying that they stated that they were hungry?
Yeah.
So when they were in the garage, were you able to go and visit them, or you
No.
couldn't?
No, I couldn't.
Why?
Because they'll get trouble. Because they'll get trouble too.
Get trouble too? Did you ever see Anthony and Tommy on a video camera from inside the garage?
Well, there was cameras in the garage too.
There were cameras in the garage?
There was one on the ceiling and one like by the doorsteps.
Okay. So when Anthony and Tommy were coming from school,
They had to go in the house and then go in the garage.
they gotta go where?
They had to go in the house to get through and then go in the garage.
But for what? What was the reason that they were have to go in the garage immediately?
Because they kept on peeing in their pants.
Oh, God. But did they have accidents in school?
No.
So why? So if they didn't have accidents in school,
That's because they go to the bathroom at school. The teachers allow them.
okay. And what happened at Dada's house?
The opposite.
The opposite. You're safe now, Andrew. You're safe. I love you. Thank you for telling me that.
You're welcome.
The toy stores across the country.
So much.
You too.
Poor Justina, you know, she is going bananas. She is begging for help. She sees what's happening to her children and no one will help her. No one will listen to her. So she decides to set up a meeting with CPS, a face-to-face meeting, on December 19th, 2017. She met with Michelle Clark and two of Clark's supervisors, Edward Heapy and Assistant Director Robert Leto. And this Heapy and this Leto, they are ghosts on the internet. And believe me, I looked. I did find some things, though, about them. Justina provided Clark, Heapy, and Leto with the audio recordings that were on Twitter, which also confirmed that Valva and Polina were doing this weird call and response brainwash thing and forcing the children to repeat really hateful things about Justina. She had it all on that flash drive. Now, no one cares about the flash drive then, but they would later. Included on that flash drive were some letters from the children's pediatrician, a neuropsychologist, both of whom were specialists who work with kids with autism. And both of them confirmed that Justina, in every possible respect, was a loving, caring, and devoted parent. There was also a letter from Dr. Kimberly Behrens, who supervised Anthony's therapy at the Fit Learning in Manhattan. In this letter, Dr. Behrens spoke glowingly about Justina and her loving relationship with her children. Now, this was in regards to the temporary full stay-away order. Dr. Behrens had wrote, quote, "It is highly likely that this ruling will create regression as well as extreme psychological and emotional distress for all of these children, and I cannot imagine any scenario that justifies this course of events," end quote. Even more disturbingly, Dr. Behrens also documented the fact that Valva had been touching Anthony's bottom. Dr. Behrens herself, being a mandated reporter, called the CPS hotline and reported the inappropriate touching by Valva. Okay, this part gets tough. On July 30th, back in 2016, Justina had made a report of SA by Valva and Polina to the Nassau County Police. Among other things, these police reports document the following acts of SA against the children. Valva would order the children to lick the girls, and those would be Polina's daughters. Lick them below the belly button and to touch their private parts. I can't. Valva would order the children to strip and walk around with no clothes on. And Valva and Polina also just walked around with no clothes on. And I know some people are just naked people. Like, they're okay, as a family, just all being naked. I'm not really a naked person like that. I mean, no judgments here. Live free or die. But this was a bad naked situation. Bad. However, CPS, and the police for that matter, decided to take no action. They didn't care about the letter from the doctor that confirmed inappropriate touching. The police noted in the police report that they failed so much as to even question Valva and Polina, and they are still claiming there was no SA. How do they know? They never looked into it. And because Valva and Polina were basically given the green light to do whatever they want, The abuse actually escalated at that point. These kids were coming to school with black eyes, bloody noses, soaked in urine, sweet Jesus, and starving because they were denied breakfast if they didn't call Angela mommy. When Justina filed that second report to CPS on January 2nd, 2018, she had reported that the abuse was increasing. But on January 3rd, 2018, that report was marked closed just 1 day later, and it was closed by Michelle Clark's supervisor, Ed Heapy. Now, CPS is required to conduct an investigation when reports are filed on the hotline within 60 days. But Clark and Heapy, they were able to bypass this mandatory requirement by marking the reports duplicative. But they were not duplicative. They knew that these reports contained separate and distinct information. They were not duplicates at all. So because Clark and Heapy are so overworked and underpaid, and they couldn't do what they were supposed to do, what they are paid to do, on January 13th, 2018, Tommy, just a tiny little 7-year-old boy, was savagely beaten by his own father. There were physical injuries, coagulated blood. There was bruises, red and yellow, green, black, and blue. Then there were dark red marks and broken blood vessels. Clearly a pretty severe assault. CPS is just as responsible as Valva is for that beating. Fight me. They might as well have told Valva and Paulina, go ahead, beat your kids. We don't care. This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't a failure in the system. This was two people who are not only as dumb as a bag of wet hammers, but wouldn't know compassion or empathy if compassion or empathy came up to them and kicked them in the crotch. And this picture, Michelle, this picture is dumb. This is a backdrop the Live, Laugh, Love crowd uses for their toddlers. Little Shelley's first visit to the pumpkin patch. Okay, I just want to take one quick second, real quick, to highlight the fact that Tommy doesn't pass away for another 2 years at this point. 2 years. I mean, really think about all the trauma that not only him and his brothers were experiencing, but also Paulina's daughters. I mean, one of the videos on Twitter we saw, you could hear one of the boys telling Justina that one of Paulina's daughters had hope for Justina to die, and you know that child did not think of that herself. Now, Andrew doesn't get brought up as much in the CPS reports and things like that, but that kid absolutely suffered. Tommy and Anthony got the brunt of the physical and mental abuse because they were autistic, and that made Angela feel uncomfortable. I don't really understand uncomfortable. She said it, so I'm just gonna take her at her word for that, but uncomfortable? Like a pair of shoes that are too tight? Like these two kids that were adorable and sweet, who just also happen to be autists, they make you feel like a pair of shoes that are too tight? I don't know. Andrew just had to watch his big brothers be abused, and he's the littlest, and it's so sad, but there really wasn't anything he could do about it. I can't even think of a word to describe how awful that would be. That's just life-changing, horrible to have to witness. And the same for Paulina's 3 girls. And those girls, they were screamed at, yelled at. Angela kept them away from their fathers, who, at least on the surface, seemed like decent people. One of the girls took piano lessons, and the piano teacher had said that Angela would only communicate with her through the cameras, the surveillance system. That's weird. I mean, it may not be the bitchiest thing ever, but geez, show a little respect, say hello. I'm pretty sure that Angela was a bitch to absolutely everyone in her life, just on varying degrees of bitch-tastic. The piano teacher also said that, Valva had 3 boys, Paulina had 3 girls, so the piano teacher said that Angela really tried to push this happy, loving, Brady Bunch-esque image.
Here's the story of a lovely lady.
No. Okay, I'm way off track. Back to CPS. So Clark actually did do ish about the beating that Tommy had taken on January 13th. She had went to the school, and in the school nurse's office, she had documented bruises, and Tommy had admitted that his father had caused those bruises. So January 15th, 2018, another CPS caseworker, Ron Meha, showed up at Valva's house and knocked on the door. They rang the bell several times, but Valva was not opening the door. Obviously, Valva did not want the CPS investigator to see the injuries that he inflicted on Tommy from that January 13th beating. Now, meanwhile, Justina had been outside the house in her car waiting for 2.5 hours for her court-ordered visitation. So she saw Meha there, and rather than calling the police himself, as he should have done, Meha put that burden on Justina. He instructed Justina to proceed to the Suffolk County Police Department 7th Precinct to file a report, so she did. However, the Suffolk County Police Department, upon learning that Valva was a police officer, they decided to look the other way. They did nothing. The SCPD refused to send over a single patrol car to check on the well-being of Justina's children, and not only that, SCPD created a false and misleading report to justify its inaction. They created this report to conceal the fact that they decided to give Valva a pass because he was one of their own. Okay, Suffolk County Police Department, one of your own willfully disobeyed a court order and obstructed a CPS caseworker from performing his duties so he wouldn't be found abusing his children. Yeah, he's one of yours. Now, a detective from SCPD 7th Precinct, a Detective Flores, comes up again in this story, and it's not good. So Justina rightfully filed a complaint with Internal Affairs, and of course, they investigated themselves and determined that they did nothing wrong. So obviously, Justina's over it. Everywhere she turns, she gets resistance. And these are her children, her babies, and everyone. They're impeding Justina's efforts to protect her babies. And that's just biological. Anyone who is a parent or loves and cares about a child knows that these children, they're the only ones that you're going to take a bullet for. Of course, she had to do something. She had to do any and everything to protect her children. I don't blame her for doing this. I don't know if it was advisable or not, but eventually you reach a point where you just don't know what else to do. You don't know where to turn. So on January 16th, 2018, Justina left a voicemail on Clark's phone informing her that she would be filing a complaint against Clark for literally sucking out loud. And she further stated that it was Clark who was responsible for the severe beating of Tommy by Valva. She's not wrong, you know. So instead of doing a little self-introspection, maybe thinking to herself, maybe I should take a second look at this. No, that didn't happen. Instead, Clark retaliated and filed a malicious and utterly baseless neglect pre-petition against Justina on January 17th, 2018. Like, that's not super obvious, Michelle. It's the day after Justina called about filing a complaint. Michelle, the next day. We know what you're doing. Or I don't know, maybe we didn't. Seems like we should have, though. So Michelle requested an order of protection for Justina to stay away from her children. And this goes beyond just Blue Lives Matter. This is some petty, childish bullshit from a grown woman, and it got a child killed. Please, Michelle, tell me how busy you are, Michelle. Tell me how overworked and underpaid you are, Michelle. Michelle, I found you on Facebook. You aren't as clever as you think you are. So just accept my friend request so we can talk. Nah, I don't have anything to say to her. I don't. She knows she's trash, and that's why she's hiding. She's hiding poorly, but she's hiding. Clark, in the complaint, alleged falsely that Justina was using excessive corporal punishment, and her impaired mental health placed the children in imminent risk of harm. Michelle knew she was lying. She knew it. Obviously, Michelle's supervisors, Ed Hebe and Robert Leto, who was a director, assistant director, they knew that the petition was malicious and false, but they let it go on anyway. And also, Clark was motivated because she was trying to deflect attention away from her suckage as a senior CPS caseworker by flipping the script and making Justina the focal point of the investigation, as well as her spite and just her general dislike of Justina, who was originally from Poland. Clark regarded her with contempt and viewed her as a second-class citizen. How very Hampton Fringe of her. On the same day that she filed the neglect pre-petition against Justina, she filed one against Valva for the beating of Tommy. So I guess in her mind, this makes sense. I guess this is her way of actually trying a little bit to protect Tommy and his brothers, and yet getting back at Justina at the same time. And I mean, that's nice. That's nice that she did something. She didn't mention any of the potential SA, any of the starvation of the children, any of the parental alienation, the brainwashing. The only nurturing, loving parents that these boys had, and they are constantly told she's mean and she's a loser. And CPS knows all about this stuff. There's that whole flash drive full of evidence. She was asking the court, though, that Valva no longer use corporal punishment. That was a beating. That wasn't corporal punishment. That was a beating. Michelle. So did Clark figure she wasn't paid enough to report the real abuse? Did she figure she would save the time she so desperately needs by making up lies and reporting the wrong parent? I don't know. I guess. So what resulted from this was that Valva kept the children, but CPS was going to keep an extra eye on him for 1 year, and he had to take some parenting classes at the local library. I mean, this is a guy doing really egregious things to his children and to his fiance's children. A class at the local library is not going to fix this. Maybe because they didn't mention, there wasn't a chapter, in the book from the class that, hey, don't kill your kids. Justina got it much, much worse. Clark had waddled her pumpkin butt right over to the Suffolk County Family Court on January 17, 2018 for an emergency hearing. Justina had been unable to attend. She got same-day notice. Maybe she was at work or whatever. I don't know. She called the courthouse and asked them to postpone, but they didn't. So they went ahead and had the hearing anyway. Justina wasn't able to give her side of the story. So Clark just went over the same lies she put in the petition. Justina's mentally ill. Justina was putting the children in danger. Justina was of imminent risk of becoming physically, mentally, and emotionally impaired. Blah, blah, blah. Oh my God, can we just light her on fire, please? Unfortunately, Clark's effort to deceive the court was successful. The court issued a temporary full stay-away order of protection against Justina, here we go again, barring her from having any unsupervised contact whatsoever with her children, while the real abuser is taking a class at the library. I really think it's important just to take a second and realize that this could happen to any one of us. Well, any one of us that care for children. I mean, the wrong person could have some real or imagined idea that you slighted them somehow, big or small, and they can report you to CPS baselessly. Maybe they have a friend at CPS. Maybe their friend is just as immature and spiteful as Michelle Clark. And before you know it, the same day, you can have your children just yanked away from you. That's a problem. That's a big problem. Okay, so on January 23rd, 2018, which is my birthday, and I'm actually extra offended that this happened on my birthday. So Clark, she's all pumped up over her win with the temporary full stay-away order against Justina. So Clark went a step further and filed a formal neglect petition and once again filled it with lies and no evidence.
Sorry, but I fucking hate liars.
Clark, with the full knowledge, consent, and encouragement from her bosses, this swamp duck had the audacity to claim that Justina inflicts excessive corporal punishment on the children when she's disciplining them, and again with the mental illness, which hinders her ability to provide the children with adequate care and supervision. Oh my God. And she's not done there. She goes on to say that Justina often, quote, demonstrates erratic behavior and that the children are afraid of Justina, end quote.
Bitch, please.
And that Justina's job as a corrections officer posed an additional risk to the safety of the children since she's allowed to carry a gun, and her impaired mental state heightened the risk of danger to the children. What? Jesus, take the wheel. Valva has a gun, Michelle. Did you forget? Like, you're married to a cop. You know they have guns. Michelle. Now, I'm not sure exactly how this all went down, but I probably won't be able to rest until I do find out. But apparently, in the time after Tommy passed, but before he was arrested, Valva showed up at Tommy's school looking to pick up his belongings. And this man, now mind you, this was the end of January, this man showed up in a tank top, jeans, and with his gun showing, I guess, on his waist where you could clearly see it. And he was apparently kind of acting all crazy. Why is he just in a tank top? And, this is also New York, and they're, a little weird about guns. But I think even somewhere down in UB Dam Holler, Texas, people would be upset about a crazy man carrying a firearm into an elementary school and causing a kerfluffle. I don't know. Just another brick in the wall of the stupidity and pointlessness that is Michael Valva's life. Well, she's looking for someone to help bolster her life. She wants some backup, some actual evidence. So she went to Dr. Behrens regarding Justina's mental condition, saying that it's been deteriorating since September. This dingleberry. Dr. Behrens, the one who had supervised Anthony's therapy at Fit Learning and had said Justina was a great mother and that taking the children out of Fit Learning would cause regression and emotional trauma, she wasn't going for it. Pumpkin couldn't get Dr. Behrens on that bandwagon. No. Sorry, Michelle. So Michelle, she was just doing the most. She spent so much time on her personal vendetta with Justina. How many other cases was she neglecting? How many other kids were just slipping through the cracks? I don't want to hear again about how overworked and underpaid they are. If I hear it again, I am going to staple somebody's lips to their forehead because clearly that's not the problem here. And this woman is a menace. She is. I mean, she doesn't look like it there sitting on that pumpkin, but she is. How is her enabling Polina and Valva to do the things that they did any less worse than actually doing it? I mean, in my opinion, it's not. And with her still out there running around, the nice people of the fringe need to keep their head on a swivel. Do not turn your back on her. Or, even better, start handing out knuckle sandwiches like it's Mom's Deli and Pumpkin is over there asking for seconds with syrup. It gets worse. I mean, how is that possible? But it does. So, in February of 2018, Michelle Clark was eventually replaced with two other CPS caseworkers. So we have Jessica Lance and Melissa Estrada taking over now. And please don't think that these two wet salt packets did any better. They didn't. They actually did worse. Okay, so Paris and Nicole from Hell put in their CPS report the same stuff about Justina's behavior, about being erratic, the same stuff about mental health, but they also claimed that Justina exhibited a recent history of violence and that she was just completely out of control. Wow. They also claimed that Justina was consistently uncooperative and unmanageable when dealing with authority. Oh my God. They also went so far as to claim that Justina now had a drinking problem. But why stop there? Why not claim she's the Zodiac killer or the person that poisoned all the Tylenol? Maybe she kidnapped the Lindbergh baby. Now, one of them was supervised by Ed Heapy, so I exhibit no shock that this was allowed to go on. And to make this even more outrageous, these chippies never even spoke with Christina. Never on the phone, never in person. They just got together, probably on the clock, and made up lies. So, not paid enough? Is this the discount version of a CPS caseworker? They also went on to give glowing reports about what was going on in the Valva and Polina home. They reported the living environment was stable and it provided good to excellent living conditions. I had my hair like that back in '96, I think. My sister said it was weird. She was right. And I can tell you unequivocally that someone that makes those choices are not providing a good or excellent anything. They said the discipline was appropriate for the children's age, development, and conduct. They claim that Valva provided age-appropriate care and supervision of the children. Did they know he was having the children lick each other? Yes, they did know that. They also said that Valva accepts responsibility for problematic behaviors and conditions in the past. Now, keeping your children in a freezing garage, and it didn't just happen one time. I mean, obviously, it happened quite a bit. Simply calling that problematic conditions is horrifying. It's horrifying. Just imagine the toxicity of the office of CPS. Even just working there would be horrible because you see how your coworkers are acting and what they're doing, and at any time any one of them could do the same to you, or even worse, thinking the whole thing is hilarious. And if you want to get back at a parent who dares to complain about you or that you find annoying, well, they'll just take you to court. It's like they have no awareness on any meaningful level what their job actually is. It's like there aren't any children being abused, being starved, and being put through unspeakable trauma. All of that is secondary to their bullshit office politics. And supervisors, directors, they know it's going on and they're totally okay with it. So Dumb and Dumber, Jessica Lance and Michelle Estrada, they take their brand new, completely fake reports to the Department of Social Services Assistant County Attorney Randall Radji. I don't know if I'm saying his name right, and I don't care. Big picture, dude's irrelevant. I also don't know if Dirty's name is Shayna or Shauna. I don't care about that either. I think I'm gonna call him Reggie. It's just easier for me to say. So Reggie takes this neglect petition and runs with it. And not only does he use the false evidence from Clark and Lance and Estrada's all piled up on top of each other, but he further embellishes those reports and invents new false claims about Justina. That reminds me of that drinking game where one person starts and they say a word that starts with the letter A, like they're using the alphabet. So the next person, they come up with a word that starts with the letter B, but they also have to repeat what the person said for the letter A, and on and on and on. Maybe it's not a drinking game. Maybe I only played it as a drinking game. I don't know. But that's what this reminds me of. They are stacking up lies instead of words, and they're destroying people's lives instead of taking shots and having a good time. So Reggie's closing argument during the neglect proceedings, he devoted almost the entire thing to arguing that Justina was mentally ill and that she was under the delusion that there was a conspiracy between Valva and CPS to falsely accuse her of child neglect. Except Reggie, that wasn't a delusion. There actually was a conspiracy. and now you're part of it. Reggie completely ignored the actual, real, provable claims against Valva that were the basis for his neglect petition. Reggie also included allegations in the neglect petition that really didn't belong there. One was that Justina had placed a recording device in the children's backpacks when they had their visits with Valva. And I mean, thank God she did. And why is that relevant? It's legal in New York. The judge who was presiding over this cluster, Judge Bernard Chang, did note that those claims were improper and they really belonged in a child custody case. Judge Chang, thank you for being a beacon in a shitstorm. It was more important for Reggie to save face for his office and hide the insanity that was going on at CPS than it did to protect children, to stop them from being abused, tortured, and starved by Valva and Polina. Man, the egos up in the Hampton Fringe. What goes on up there? Now, there was an attorney for the children, an AFC, for this proceeding too. And this guy's name was Ethan Halpern. And this guy, yeah, he's an all-star too. Very much like Donna McCabe had done during the divorce proceedings, Halpern turned a blind eye to the evidence of abuse against the children by Valva and Polina, and instead focused on protecting the rights of Valva and making sure that Justina's neglect petition would go on. Towards the end, Halpern stated, under penalty of perjury, that Justina herself had admitted to hitting the children. That never happened. Not in court, not anywhere else.
You're a thief! You're a liar!
Justina is not a spanker. She doesn't use corporal punishment against her children. But what that lie did is it helped influence Judge Chang's decision to deny Justina's motion to dismiss the neglect petition. Now, never mind that Justina has to pay for this AFC. She's paying this guy to tell lies and to drag out these proceedings longer and longer, therefore costing her more and more money. And she's not the one that is getting these mysterious $130,000 a month deposited into his bank account. We still don't know what's going on there, but something clearly is. And like everyone else involved in this case, Halpern knew that Valva had severely beaten up Tommy in January of 2018. And as the AFC, it's his job to protect the children. I'm not sure he understands what that means. I don't think he does. In the end, Judge Chang dismissed the neglect petition. He said, quote, in sum, the record as a whole does not support a finding of neglect, end quote. He also ordered that CPS open up an investigation against Valva. Like, for real? He must be from out of town. For further vindication for Justina, an administrative law judge, Lorene Menino, in a decision dated July 16, 2019, found that CPS did not meet its burden presenting a fair preponderance of the evidence that Justina had committed the alleged abuse. And rightly so, Judge Menino found the original determination made by CPS to be amended to vacate. The child abuse and neglect charges filed by Valva on October 31st, 2017, finally was officially unfounded. There was just no evidence in the report that came from the investigation of those charges. So basically, this was CPS waving the white flag, saying they give up, and essentially admitting that the entire neglect petition against Justina should have never been brought in the first place. All that stress, all that torment, all that pain, all that money. Really though, CPS did actually win. All Valva and the caseworkers wanted was petty revenge. All that time that was taken away from Justina with her children. She was probably missing work and just tortured by CPS. She had to live through that. And being falsely accused of being a drunk or being out of control or having a mental illness that would endanger your children is traumatic. On top of everything else this woman has yet to go through at this point, she will never forget and never get over what happened to her, what was done to her. I'm really trying to wrap this video up, but the crazy just keeps coming. So Valva had gone ahead and enrolled his children in the East Moriches Union Free School District in 2017. Now, through all their attendance from the fall of 2017, teachers, school administrators saw clear evidence that the children were being abused, specifically Tommy and Anthony, the only two of the children that were diagnosed with autism. They had seen the physical injuries that Valva had inflicted to Tommy back in the January 2018 beating. They saw that these boys were unbearably thin. They saw these kids picking up crumbs off the floor and scrounging through the garbage looking for food. Valva and Polina sent these children to school so soiled that school employees could smell urine and feces about their bodies. On one occasion, Tommy came to school so soaked with urine that it was squishing in his shoes. These teachers are mandated reporters, but the only thing they did was speak to Valva and explain to him that the children were hungry and they needed more food. And they did nothing when Valva didn't comply. The school nurse had weighed the children and they knew they were being starved. It took a full year, all the way to September 27, 2018, for the school to file its first report on the CPS hotline. I'm glad they did, but them waiting a year really hurt the neglect petition against Valva. Had they made those reports and had CPS included them in the neglect petition, Valva maybe would have lost custody of the children, and quite possibly maybe even could have been arrested, but they didn't. And watching these clips of the trial, you see these teachers crying, leaving the courtroom. And I'm not trying to be harsh, but where were the tears from September 2017 to September 2018? Like I said, I'm glad they did start reporting him, but really it was a day late and $1 short. Now, I don't know if this was just more of the Hampton fringe living and school administrators maybe didn't want a CPS report filed because it might make the school look bad. But why wouldn't they? I mean, what were they thinking? Did they believe that someone who came from that neighborhood just couldn't possibly be abusing their children? I don't know. But there has to be a reason why they waited a year when these kids were coming to school talking about how their dad makes them sleep in the garage. Anthony came to school once with a bloody nose, and he legit screamed when his teacher suggested that he go to the school nurse because Polina had forbade the children to ever go to the school nurse. Can you imagine that? Now, the school did call Valva, and he claimed that Anthony just woke up with a bloody nose. Okay. Then his nose continued to swell and change colors throughout the day. There were black eyes. There were cuts. So many unexplained bruises. Now, when they eventually did start reporting, the floodgates did open. They filed report after report after report, and CPS did nothing. The investigation that Judge Chang had ordered resulted in Lance, and can you believe they sent her? I mean, just the optics of it. Anyway, she was sent, and Jessica dismissed complaints from the school, from the children's pediatrician, and from their pediatric neurologist, complaints about Valva. So that's a handful of doctors with concerns, and Jessica did nothing. Of course. She also didn't believe that the children were sleeping in the garage because she didn't think a mattress would fit in there. Okay, I don't even know what to say about that. I mean, we do find out eventually that they did have at one point a crib mattress in there, but Polina had taken out everything that was comfortable, any kind of creature comforts or anything that resembled a bedroom, because she's awful. But my God, Jessica, it's a garage. A mattress will fit. All of this abuse still continued. Tommy and Anthony were being subjected to severe physical punishment by Valva and Polina. They were slapped. They were punched. Tommy was carried by his wrists with his feet not touching the floor. Polina had thrown and dragged Tommy down a flight of steps. These boys would arrive at school with scratches, bruises, and cuts. In the fall of 2019, Tommy had a bump a bruise, and hair pulled out from the root of his head. In mid-November 2019, both Anthony and Tommy came to school with bruises all over their faces. Valva claimed that the bruises came from playing football, but he would change that story multiple times when speaking with school officials. In another instance, Anthony came to school walking bent over at the waist with visible finger marks on his arms, complaining that his bottom hurts. Teachers had to put ice on his bottom to help control the amount of pain he was in. Okay, so normally I'm the Scully. I don't believe anything about anything unless I see it for myself, and then I still question it. Okay, but why did his bottom hurt like that? Anthony had declared some really crazy essay, like injections in places that you don't get injections in. And later, we find out that these kids were often in that garage naked, and they're staring at the camera. Why are they staring at the camera? I mean, all of this can't be confirmation bias, can it? I mean, I guess it is. I guess Valva is the cop. He must be the good guy. But each person involved knows that they're lying, and they all know each other is lying. They have all the receipts right there on the flash drive, right in front of them, and they're ignoring it. They're hiding it. I mean, maybe confirmation bias, but maybe conspiracy. And if it's conspiracy, why? So again, right, I'm a Scully. I don't believe anything. But why are these children staring at the camera? And why are they naked? Little children naked staring at cameras. And why is one's bottom so sore he needs an ice pack? And with the bruises on his arms and he's bent over at the waist, like, you know, that's weird. That's weird. And then where are these huge sums of money being deposited into Valva and Paulina's bank account coming from? Something is going on. Something was going on, definitely.
Bill, what? Strange things are afoot at the Circle K.
I'll say. I say definitely, but I don't mean definitely. But geez, that's a lot of clues. According to court transcripts during a July 11th, 2019 hearing in Nassau County Family Court, Judge Joseph Lawrence repeatedly rebuffed Justina's pleas to return her sons to her. Court records show Justina predicted what would happen just 5 months later. She said her boys would come to a horrible end, living with their father. Quote, "Is Your Honor waiting for my child to die under the care of Michael Valva and Angela Paulina?" End quote. I mean, yikes. Good for her. Anyway, she continues, because that's what it's leading to. The plaintiff, who is Valva, is hitting them, beating them up. Nothing is being done. End quote. In one exchange, Justina told the judge she wants Thomas, Anthony, and Andrew returned to her because she claims they were unlawfully taken away. And I believe they were. But Judge Lawrence just immediately denied the motion. Justina asked, why? On what basis? The children's lives are in danger, Your Honor. Judge Lawrence wisely replied, because I said so. Justina repeated, the children's lives are in danger. Unmoved, Lawrence said, call the authorities. Yeah, Judge, we've been trying that. Earlier in that same hearing, after Justina said the children were being abused, Lawrence refers her again to CPS. He says, quote, if you have reason to believe that the children are being abused, being neglected, you know how to take care of that. End quote. Noting that the teachers at the children's school are reporting the neglect, Justina replies, quote, the children are coming soaked in urine. Anthony is sleeping in the garage. His hands and his feet are bright red Your Honor, he is not getting any food. End quote. And to this fairly shocking statement, Judge Lawrence says, "Move along. I can't remember everything you're saying because you're saying so much." I'll bet the court reporter was like, hello? Justina, not moving along, continues. "Your Honor, the CPS is not doing the job because they are closing reports the next day." I guess he forgot why he showed up that day, like what he was supposed to be doing, his role in the hearing. He's the judge, and he doesn't think that he can have CPS take a look at Valva, give Justina custody, ask some questions of Valva while he's right there. Bitch, you are a judge. As long as you're not ordering everyone to do meth, you can order what you want. Justina also expressed her frustration with, here we go again, Donna McCabe, the children's AFC, who insisted at the hearing that the boys were in good shape. Of course she did. She said, quote, "Last week, I met with all 3 children, and they looked well. They don't look malnourished." I would have had to pull my hair back at that because, yeah, we're going to fight. Justina had told the judge that McCabe was misleading the court, and sadly, completely dismissed. After Tommy's death, Judge Lawrence referred a call from a reporter to court spokesman Lucian Chalfin, who said, quote, "Whenever there is a death of a child and that case has been in family court, we immediately undertake an internal review of the case to make sure all the proper protocols and safeguards have been followed." Lucian continued, "We did that in a Westchester family court case recently, and the administrative judge in Nassau County is actively doing that at this time. Should we identify a problem or issue with the handling of the case, we will then further address it and take whatever action is appropriate." Bitch did not just say, "We will investigate ourselves, and when we've determined we've done nothing wrong, not only will we take no real meaningful action, but we're not even going to let you know about it." Privacy and such. And did Lucian just admit that they were currently dealing with a similar situation in a neighboring county? Lucian, I don't want to tell you how to do your job. I don't. But that should be a huge red flag that you have some problems that need addressing. But go on. On January 8th, 2020, CPS supervisor Lydia Sebasto decided to close out the last report that was made to the CPS hotline on November 18th, 2019. The CPS reports should remain open for 60 days, so it shouldn't have been closed until January 18th, pending further investigation by CPS. Justina had spoken on the phone with CPS caseworker Jean Montague and begged her not to close down the investigation regarding her children. Justina reminded Montague of the long history of documented abuse by Valva and Polina, and she told her she was extremely worried about the safety of her children. Montague just ignored her, so her supervisor, Sebasto, closed the case. Of course. That was the last chance that CPS had to save Tommy's life. Less than 10 days later, Tommy would be dead. And just saying that this little boy suffered and died in the cold, that doesn't do justice to what really happened to him. As he lay dying in that freezing garage, he knew that he had been forced to spend the night in this unheated garage by his own father and that lunatic Polina that forced him to call her mommy. Records show from the hospital that Tommy had suffered an intracranial hemorrhage, and there was a bump on his forehead with an abrasion that went down through the bridge of his nose. And I'll put up the records that I found so you can just pause and take a look. The first story that Valva told was that Tommy had been up at 5:30 in the morning, running around, and he ran into a door frame. Then that story changed to the story that was reported in the media, that he had fallen in the driveway while heading out to catch his school bus. None of the injuries were consistent with either story. Plus, there were all those Ring and Nest cameras that pretty much told the real story. Next up is a phone call that Justina had recorded not long after Tommy passed, but before Valva and Belina had been arrested. Detective Flores from Suffolk County PD 7th Precinct, yes, the same utterly useless cops that refused to do a welfare check on Justina's children because Valva was one of their own.
It's a small brotherhood, part of the thin blue line.
Yes, exactly. He called Justina with a favor. Detective Flores called Justina about the videos that had been on her Twitter for 2 years. The videos that were on the flash drive that she had been trying to get people to look at for over 3 years. He says some mind-blowingly outrageous and offensive things that he doesn't even realize are outrageous and offensive. And this dude is a detective.
Hey, Justina.
Yeah, hi, what's...
Okay, alright. You got your boys back, right?
Yeah.
You got 2 of your boys. I wish we could have got you all 3 of your boys.
Yeah, that's extreme.
The first time, I told you the first time that I found out about this case was Friday morning. I told you we were going to, me and my team of guys, we're going to look into this case and do everything we can.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
I hope you believe me. And
Well, we'll see the results, Mr. Flores. We'll see the results. There's no more hiding things or, protecting the father of my children. The truth has to come out and the justice needs to be served.
I need you to still do me another favor. I've been asking you for favors, and my team worked very hard. CPS gets all the credit for giving you your voice back, but I want you to understand.
No, I get the credit for...
You understand, right? This is because
CPS
of us.
gets no credit because CPS was the reason why the death of my child happened.
Go ahead, talk. Tell me how you feel.
No, I'm just telling you the CPS is responsible in majority for not removing the children, not providing safety for the children, ignoring my plea for help for those children. And I'm not giving them any credit because that's their job and they failed to do so.
That's your right. But the reason I'm calling is, one, I want to congratulate you for getting the 2 boys back. I wish I could have got you.
I thank you, God, for it because I feel like the justice is starting being served slowly, but it's still not over. The most important, my children right now, and they're gonna be safe with me. That's the most important right now.
Okay, I know, and I'm still working on the case. Believe me, every day we're working on Thomas' case. Okay.
Okay.
I told you we're gonna talk for Thomas. He can't do it, but we're gonna speak for him. But I need your help, okay? And I'm not gonna accuse you of doing anything, but there's a lot of stuff being posted, videos on the internet, Twitter, Facebook, and I'm not gonna say that you did it. I'm not saying that.
No, you know what's happened? Actually, everybody from my workplace found out about the allegations that came through when CPS failed to investigate, and guess what? Everybody is outraged. I mean, outraged. Everybody wants justice. This is not just me fighting against, for justice for Thomas. You're talking about hundreds and thousands of people fighting for justice for Thomas, and that's what it should be before I see justice. Because if it's
Can you give me a chance to get there, and I'll let you know when you can do all that kind of stuff that you want.
I can control people's feelings and what they post on the social media, and
I know, but there's some videos there that could jeopardize the case, and that's not what I want. There's some videos that we should have, and I called you and asked you.
Listen, all the evidence from my side that are somewhere were always distributed to CPS, the court, and nobody did anything with it.
I know.
You understand?
I know, but I need it. I'm asking you for it. I don't care about anyone else. I need it. can you get me that stuff that you, remember you told me you had a flash drive with some stuff?
Yeah, and the same flash drive for CPS. They should have the same flash drive. I provided to them on December 19th, 2017.
I work with CPS, but I'm not CPS. I'm a law enforcement agency. I work for Suffolk County Police, and I if you can help us with those videos.
But what kind of videos you looking for? There's many videos that were made.
There's one video specifically that I was told where Michael's holding one of the boys from coming to see you at a visitation. It's out there.
Yeah, it's on the Twitter, right?
On the Twitter, yeah.
Right, it's right.
Those kind of videos. I'm saying those videos are great, but they're great for me. They're not great when they're in social media.
Do you understand that this video was posted in 2018, 2 years ago, and you guys still did not do anything?
You can't say you guys, because like I told you before, I know you.
Listen, but you're representing department, and you working for Suffolk County Police. Okay, the Suffolk County Police did absolutely nothing. There's a huge accident on the road. I think there's some car. I hope God nobody died, because it's like car that was flipped over and the other car was flipped over on the oh God.
What, do you need to call 911?
No. There is ambulance and all that stuff is there.
Right.
It's just what I'm saying. Yeah, it's.
Okay.
Just wanna make sure.
Then, like I said, if you have any control, if you can help me, just keep stuff off, even you have, if you can just not put it on social media, I'll just ask you for that favor. I know that you can't control other people, I understand that, but I'm just asking you that one favor, and I just want to assure you that, you got your voice, and we're still working on the case, okay?
Mr. Flores, just conduct thorough and impartial investigation, and you shouldn't be afraid of the truth in this case. You really shouldn't be afraid. Because if you are afraid of telling the truth out there, then something is wrong with the investigation, okay? That's number one.
No. That's not what I'm asking you. I'm not afraid of things being out there and the truth getting out. That's not what I'm saying.
Is there any progress in the case?
Of course we're progressing every single day, but I can't see you. I told you from the beginning that I'm not going to be able to tell you certain things. We're progressing.
Well, I am hoping the investigation is going to be completed soon. I'm hoping the justice will be served, because I do have to, arrange for funeral for my son.
Everything I told you has been the truth. I told you that you were going to need the doctor, Dr. Kaplan, and I told you that he's a good man and he's going to do his job for everybody. You met him. You can make your own decisions. I know you feel that way for me. You know he's a good man. You know he did a good job with what you did. Correct?
I'm not making any promises until I see the justice served for my son. So that's the bottom line. It's been too long since my children were abused and nobody did anything to help them. Maybe if just Suffolk County Police would have do a simple welfare check on my children that I requested many times and was always denied, maybe this wouldn't happen. There's so many mistakes Suffolk County Police made in regards to my children that are not easy to forget.
I know that's how you feel. I'm not going to tell you to feel otherwise. Can you just give me a chance? That's what I'm asking you for, a chance. No. If you have all that stuff, you can put it up later. You can put it if you want. Can you just give me a chance to do my investigation with nothing hurting it right now? I know you gave all that stuff to people before me, and they should have it. But I need it, and I need it off the internet for now. Just for now. Give me some time, whatever time you want. Just for now.
I don't know what you're asking me for, but I'm.
The videos. We don't want any videos of the children. Anything you're gonna post, can you just give me a copy? That's what I'm asking.
Listen. I don't even know how to respond to this at this point. I just wanna. Focus on getting my children tonight.
I know. Okay, so when you see your children and you have time, give me a call back, okay? But when I request it, what I ask for, obviously I can't do anything you don't. But I want to just, I'm happy that the boys I'm happy, my office is happy, I have the guys here. We're all extremely happy that the boys are with you right now.
Yeah,
okay?
I'm extremely happy too. Exactly.
Okay, so we're very happy and I think we're all going to be able to. I think none of us have slept good the last week, and I think we'll be able to sleep a little better tonight knowing that the police are right. Okay?
Yes, thank you. Have a good night,
Okay, I mean that. Have a good night.
Bye.
And I think we all know why that video got Detective Flores all tight in the britches. I don't know if I've ever heard anyone bumblefuck up a conversation to the degree that Detective Flores did. I'm praying for y'all in Suffolk County. Valva and Polina were arrested. They had their trials, and they were found guilty. Then there was a sentencing, and that's what happened. Well, not everything that happened, it's just everything that I could put in this video. I'll go ahead and link the sentencing for Valva and Polina in the description. I mean, they were okay, nothing super outstanding from either side, but you really must take a look at Polina's defense attorney. He has such a dumb face. He actually said in his closing arguments, quote, "We don't convict people because they are bitches," end quote. I don't know what he was expecting from the jury after that statement. I don't. But I do have so much secondhand embarrassment for that guy. Now, I do want to show just a part of Valva's sentencing by Judge Condon. And he really got to me, and not in a good way.
One question still beguiles me, though. How did all of us, as a community, allow this to happen? And I acknowledge this is not the appropriate forum to have that discussion, but it needs to happen.
What bothers me is that Judge Condon said he wanted to know how the community allowed this to happen. Now, unless he was speaking specifically about the legal community, I don't want to hear about it. And he wasn't speaking about the legal community. He did the round of interviews later saying the whole overworked, underpaid nonsense. And Judge Condon was retiring. That was his last case. He said that this wasn't the proper forum to discuss these failures. It was actually the perfect time to discuss these failures. Hello? He's retiring. Why not do something big on your last day? Burn that bitch to the ground. Judge Condon, it was judges, your colleagues, that failed. It was CPS, your government coworkers, that failed. It was the police that failed. It was not one, but two attorneys for the children that failed. It was the Division of Family Services Assistant County Attorney Reggie that failed. It wasn't the community. The teachers, they were late, tragically late in reporting to CPS, but they did report and nothing was done. That's outrageous. The nice folks of the Hampton Fringe are not responsible for this. They have other jobs. That's why government agencies are paid to do what they're supposed to do correctly and timely. And this is one of the most heavily taxed areas of the whole country. They are way overpaying for the bargain basement government they're getting. I don't know, I'm not a judge, but I'm pretty sure being an egotistical asshole is not a prerequisite. It's not in the job description. They should never cause a citizen who gives them their authority in the first place to believe that they have the power of God. That's gross. Their pride and their egos and their desire to make snarky comments from the bench are not worth the life of a child. It is not the community. It is not us. Do not put your bullshit on us. Then we have Steve Ballone, I think. County executive, whatever, who cares? And he's talking about all the changes that are going to be made and how poor Tommy's death won't be in vain. that this should never happen again. But here's the thing. This isn't the first time this has happened. This won't be the last time something like this has happened, where incompetency or pettiness has caused the death of an innocent child. So what does he mean he doesn't want this to happen again? The employees that got little Tommy killed, oh my God, not only still work there, but 3 of them were promoted or got raises. What? That is some outrageous, mind-blowing shenanigans right there. I mean, a bitch has questions. If you want to try to fix this problem, you have to clean house. Don't pay them more money. Don't promote them. Get rid of them. Destroy the culture of toxicity. I don't understand how that is not painfully obvious. I wish Balone and Judge Condon would stop talking because they legit sound dumb. Or they just think we're all dumb. I don't know. I mean, thanks, Judge Condon, for giving Valva the max, but everything you've done after, everything you're saying in these interviews, it's simply not helpful. It's not like a retired judge or a county executive wouldn't have enough juice, union or no union, to get these people fired. So as long as the rest of us still have jobs to go to, families to take care of, busy lives to lead, and elected officials do nothing but blah, 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 about all the changes that they're going to make, it's never going to happen. None of us should have any reason to believe that there isn't a child or children in Suffolk County suffering right now because of this culture of pettiness and laziness, and they're rewarded for it, and it's allowed to continue at CPS and in the family courts. Tommy, without a doubt, your mama loves you. And all of us, we're all so sorry that we didn't know until it was too late. Justina has filed a lawsuit worth $200 million. U.S. District Judge Edward R. Corman has ruled that certain parts of the lawsuit can proceed. The lawsuit involves almost everyone we discussed in this video, including Valva and Polina. Justina is seeking compensatory damages as well as punitive damages to ensure that this abuse doesn't happen to another family and to bring about changes in the legal system to better protect innocent children. The defendants in this lawsuit better start thinking settlement or start sweating, because they really don't want this beautiful family anywhere near a witness stand.
I wish you were alive so we could spend time with Mom in heaven and have a good life. I'm really sorry that this happened to you. I'll miss you. Rest in peace, my big brother.
I love you, Tommy.
Thank you for watching. Take care of yourself, look after others, question everything, and fuck the police, because I do care about what happens to you. Bye.